Picture this. You land after a long flight, you make your way down to baggage claim, you wait, and the carousel goes around and around and around, and your bag never comes. Your suitcase is gone. Everything you packed, gone. And a few minutes later, a tired airline employee slides a piece of paper across the counter, points to a dollar amount, and says, "Sign here, and we'll get this taken care of for you." And here is what almost nobody knows. The number on that paper is very often a tiny fraction of what that airline is legally required to pay you. They are not lying to you exactly. They are simply counting on one thing. They are counting on you not knowing the rule. And by the time you finish this video, you are going to know it better than the person behind that counter. Because there is a specific federal number, a hard dollar figure that airlines are obligated to honor, and most travelers have never heard it, never used it, and have signed away thousands of dollars without ever realizing it. Stay with me all the way to the end, because there is one category of item, something a lot of you reading this carry every single time you fly, that is not covered by the limit at all. For that one item, the airline can be on the hook for its full value, even if that is $10,000 or $20,000. I will get to that, and it is the most important thing in this entire video. Let's start with the number, because the number is everything. As of 2025, for flights inside the United States, the Department of Transportation sets the maximum that an airline must pay you for a bag that is lost, damaged, or delayed at $4,700 per passenger. Not per family, per passenger. If you and your spouse are traveling together and both your bags are lost, that is two separate limits. Now write this down, because this is the part they will never say out loud. That figure is a minimum requirement of how high they must be willing to go, not a cap on what your stuff was worth. An airline is free to pay you more than that. They are simply not required to. So when someone offers you $200 and an apology, that offer has almost nothing to do with what you are actually owed. It has to do with what they think you will accept. Here is the first trap, and it catches almost everyone. The airline pays based on the depreciated value of what was in your bag, not the price of buying it all new. So they will try to age down everything you owned. That coat you bought 3 years ago, that pair of shoes, the airline's instinct is to value it at pennies on the dollar. This is exactly why what you do before your trip matters as much as what you say after. Before you ever fly, take 2 minutes and photograph the inside of your packed suitcase. Snap a picture of the contents. Keep receipts for anything of real value. Because when it comes time to make a claim, the person who can show what was in the bag and what it was worth is the person who gets paid properly. The person who is just describing it from memory gets pennies. Same loss, completely different outcome. Now the second thing, and this one genuinely makes people angry when they hear it, because they have been quietly cheated by it for years. If your bag is not lost but simply delayed, stuck somewhere for a day, 2 days, a week, the airline is required to reimburse you for the reasonable things you had to go out and buy while you waited. Clothes, toiletries, the essentials. And here is the part they bury. Airlines are not allowed to set an arbitrary daily cap on those expenses. You have probably heard an airline employee say something like, "We'll cover up to $50 a day." That kind of flat daily limit is not what the regulation says. The rule says reasonable, verifiable, actual expenses, subject only to that overall liability limit, not a made-up $50 a day number. So if an agent tells you there is a small daily cap, you do not have to simply accept that as the final word. You keep every receipt, you keep your purchases reasonable, and you submit them. The words you want are simple and calm. I understand your internal policy, but I'd like to be reimbursed for my reasonable, verifiable, actual expenses under the DOT baggage rules. Say it plainly. It signals that you know exactly where you stand. The third thing is a trap you can avoid before you ever leave the house, and it is about what you should never put in a checked bag. Airlines write exclusions into the fine print of what is called their contract of carriage, and in that fine print they typically refuse liability for certain categories of items. Jewelry, cash, electronics, fragile items. So if you check a bag with your good jewelry or an expensive camera tucked inside, and that bag vanishes, the airline will very often point to that fine print and pay you nothing for those specific items. The rule for the rest of your life is simple. Anything valuable, anything irreplaceable, anything fragile, it goes in your carry-on with you, never in the belly of the plane. Never check what you cannot afford to lose. Now let's talk about what to actually do in the moment, because the single biggest mistake people make happens in the first hour. The mistake is leaving the airport. If your bag does not arrive, you do not walk out and call later. You go straight to the airline's baggage service desk before you exit the terminal and you file a report on the spot, in person. Some airlines require that report within just a few hours of arrival, so waiting until tomorrow can cost you the claim entirely. Get the report, get a reference number, and keep it. From there, most airlines will keep searching, and most will officially declare a bag lost somewhere between 5 and 14 days. Once it is declared lost, they owe you for the contents up to that limit, and they must also refund whatever you paid to check the bag in the first place. That checked bag fee comes back to you too, and most people never even ask for it. And if the airline drags its feet, gives you a low ball, or simply goes quiet, you are not out of options, and this is the leverage almost nobody uses. You can file a complaint directly with the Department of Transportation. When you do, the airline is required to acknowledge it and respond within a set time frame, and those complaints are tracked. The simple act of telling an airline, "If we can't resolve this, I'll be filing a DOT complaint," changes the temperature of the entire conversation, because now they know you know. And now the most important thing in this video, the one I promised at the start, and it matters more to the people reading this than anything else I have said. Everything up to this point has been about that $4,700 limit. But there is one category of item where that limit does not apply at all. Assistive devices. On flights within the United States, wheelchairs, walkers, scooters, hearing aids, prosthetics, the equipment that helps a person move and live independently, are not subject to the standard baggage liability limit. If an airline loses or destroys one of these during a domestic flight, they are responsible for the full original purchase price of the device, not a depreciated fraction, not a capped amount, the full price. If your mobility scooter costs $6,000 and they destroy it, the limit is not the ceiling. If a device costs $20,000, the airline is liable for $20,000. This exists precisely because for the person who depends on that equipment, it is not luggage. It is independence. And almost nobody who relies on these devices knows that this protection is written into federal rules specifically for them. If you fly with a wheelchair, a walker, a scooter, or any mobility or medical equipment, this single fact is worth more than this entire video, and it is worth sharing with every person you know who travels with one. So let's bring it all together before you go. 1. The limit for a lost, damaged, or delayed bag on a domestic flight is $4,700 per passenger. And that is a floor of what they must honor, not the value of what you lost. 2. They pay depreciated value, so photograph your packed bag and keep receipts before you ever fly. 3. For a delayed bag, they owe you reasonable, verifiable, actual expenses, and a flat $50 a day cap is not the rule. 4. Never check jewelry, cash, electronics, or anything fragile, because the fine print excludes them. 5. File your report in person before you leave the airport, get the reference number, and claim your checked bag fee back too. 6. If they stall, file a complaint with the DOT. And 7. The one to remember above all the rest. Assistive devices on domestic flights are not subject to the limit. The airline owes their full value. None of this is secret in the technical sense. It is all written down publicly in the rules. It is simply invisible to the ordinary traveler at the counter, because the person sliding that paper across to you has no reason in the world to explain it. Now you understand it. And if even one of these saves you or saves someone you love from signing away what they were owed, then do one thing before you close this video. Share it with someone who is going to fly this year, because the next time a bag goes missing, they are going to be the one person at that counter who actually knows the rules. Safe travels.